Awesome. So, welcome. We are here in the Blue Room at Rockgeist that was recently painted. My friend Molly actually did the entire thing. I had nothing to do with it. But this is the setup. We have a nice little interview platform here, and I have Stephen McHone here with me, who just finished the Trans North Georgia race yesterday. You were on the trail yesterday, right? Yeah. The race is actually still going on. There's about 20 or so. It's about half the field actually this morning, around 24. We're still racing this morning. So
there's a lot of people that dropped out. I think there's around I think 30 something people had scratched already.
And sounds like that's common. That's how it was in the Arizona Trail Race 300 this year. The Colorado Trail Race, about half the field drops out. So
I'm not surprised. It was rough.
So Steven finished in 6th place, is that right?
Yeah.
Which out of 79 racers total.
Yeah.
At least on track leaders. I'm sure there's one or two that didn't have a spot with them that snuck in or whatever. But really just for your safety. You don't really have to have one. But so that's an awesome feat, man. Congratulations on the finish. That's exciting. So tell us about it. Give us a quick rundown of the events.
It was a beautiful blur of Georgia. Like you get to see the best parts and best trails in Georgia all at once, and doing it like at race pace. It's crazy. Like I'm still trying to grasp like all the stuff that I saw and all the stuff that I rode in that short period of time.
Absolutely. So this is your first run at it, right?
Yeah. That was my first time out there. So I'd been down there. I went and had my honeymoon down there, so I rode some of the trails out there, but most things I rode, that was my first time being on it. Yeah.
It's to race this sight unseen and to do as well as you did. That's tough to do. And we were talking earlier about the disadvantage of not knowing the course, and probably all the people in front of you have been there before. And know that trail more intimately, so that's congrats on that.
Thanks. Yeah, it made it frustrating because I would talk to the veteran riders and they would point out things that I'd missed, and I'm just like, that would have been so nice to have had like a sandwich instead of like beef jerky, but or like known to go the trail up instead of the trail down and have to retrack everything. But it's a learning curve on it, but even still, it's a brutal route. Even with the best preparation, it's not easy. So
would you consider doing it again and compare now your first run and the second run?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. I plan on doing it next year. I think it would be a more enjoyable experience. I think as far as time wise, I know I can knock down some hours on it, but you get to enjoy it more. The more you know the trails, and the more you kind of know the layout of things that are to come, instead of I would get like fully exhausted and think that I was done climbing, and then there's 3 more climbs.
Sometimes I think that's almost an advantage in some ways, where you don't know what's coming up, so you don't like psych yourself out, and you do a climb and you don't know you have 4 more that are just as hard. So it's absolutely, it's tough to do it sight unseen and to race it as well. I know a lot of people that do their beta run and tour it, right? Take their time. It's really interesting. Colorado Trail, Arizona Trail 300, and the Trans North Georgia, those all 3, the course record are from locals. Yeah. So right there you can see the advantage of being familiar.
For sure. Yeah.
So excellent. So this is your first time in the Trans North Georgia, but you're not the first time Bikepacker racer. So what are some other stuff that you've done?
I raced the Allegheny Mountain Loop earlier this year. I got 2nd place on that. The Hurricane 300 down in Florida, I got I think 3rd on that. I think those are and then the Arizona Trail Race this year. Mm-hmm. That one broke me off a good bit. I didn't place on that one. I stopped at the 300 miler at the picket post, but it was a good experience. It was humbling. It was.
A lot of this is just finishing, right? And I do some of these same races, but I'm not as competitive. I just kind of compete against myself, and the goal for me is always just to finish, and that's a challenge enough in itself. And talking about like half the field scratches on this stuff, so it's not easy just to finish.
I was at mile probably 300 out of 360 and contemplating quitting. I laid my bike down. I laid down in the dirt. I had a pad on the bike, and I didn't even like want to take the time to take the pad down. I just laid my bike down. I just laid on the ground and thought like, I'm just gonna go back to that main road, and it goes straight into a town, and this is all over.
Yeah. Right.
It's just you get to that point where you're just mentally and physically done, and it just seems like, all right, like I don't care if I finish, but then you get like that second wind. It's like, all right, like I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna happen. So it's just it takes you through like such a big spectrum of emotions along the way. I feel like going through the exhaustion period just makes sides of you come out that normally don't come out. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking at the very end, like this is why I do it. Like this is the most I ever feel alive is when I'm finishing these races, because it's the most I feel like I'm probably about to die, but at the same time, it's the most like accomplished thing, like to be able to like push my body to that threshold and like push through the pain, push through like the mental things, and all the voices in my head, they're telling me like you can stop, like no one's gonna judge you, like anything like that, but mm-hmm. like to still push past that and finish something that epic, like it just makes me feel so alive that like. And then I immediately like lay down and like I laid there and like I cried and like looked at the stars for like 10 minutes, and I was like, this was intense, but like this is what it feels like to be alive for me. Like this was, this is what just brings everything out. All the bad things that happen, it's been to me like to go through the suffering and the highs and the lows. It's better to have that than to just be bland and be sitting on a couch somewhere and not feeling anything. So I'd rather chafe for like 30 hours than like sit on a couch and be comfortable for the rest of my life.
I can agree more, and like those feelings of the super lows and super highs, those every rider has those feelings, whether you're coming in first place or last place. Yeah. Right. So it's not like you have to be this elite athlete to go chase those feelings, and that's why I do it. I finished mid-pack. I'm lucky, and I have those same experiences. Yeah. When you're night riding at 3 a.m. and it's like you just want to go to bed, but you kind of get past those low moments, and that's really, you're right. You discover a lot about yourself. And, it's fun to do.
But so sometimes too, like those night moments, like you see the trail in a way that it kind of forces you to see the trail in a way that you couldn't plan. Like, I would never plan to be up on the side of some of those mountains and riding a single track at 3 a.m. Like, it's reckless, but in the moment, like you can't replicate it. You can't replicate what the weather's like. You can't replicate how your body's feeling. Like I could show back up and ride all those trails another time, but it's not going to be the same experience. So it was amazing. You get to see these views of things that most people do in multiple days, and to see something so vast in just a short amount of time. I've heard it talked to as being kind of like just a natural like acid trip where you're going through and everything's such a blur and everything's so crazy, and then all of a sudden it's like calm and it's okay again, Mm-hmm. And sometimes it only takes like getting a Coca-Cola from somebody at a somebody that's just parked on the side of the road and they've like got Coca-Colas and Gatorades, and like all of a sudden like all this negative talk that you've had going on is completely washed out, and you're just like, okay, like I can do this. Like, this person's been out here for like 4 hours just because they want to like cheer on like this obscure race, I had an older gentleman. He was probably like in his 70s, and my last like 15 miles of the race, it was around 9:30 at night, and he pulled up next to me and got out of his car and he said, "Do you mind if I take a picture?" And we were in like such a remote place in Georgia that to this guy, like I'm a pro athlete, like he was like nervous and like he was so excited to like take my picture, Like this was like the highlight of his year, like to be able to like meet some of the riders. So it was like, like that's another part of being out there, is to help inspire and like give back to the community, and so that they get to have a little touch of like what we're doing, like to them, like just getting to meet riders and athletes, it can make their day or make their year.
Excellent. Yeah, I know it's great when you see that great enthusiasm from local communities and the trail angels that you meet along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So for someone who hasn't done the Trans-North Georgia, can you quickly describe the route and some facts about the trail, and maybe describe some of the scenes along the way?
Oh, it was amazing. A lot of gravel. You're basically just hitting one climb after another, like 1,500 feet up, 1,500 feet down, over, just rolling through hillsides. And North Georgia is a really remote area where I think in the first 100 miles, I don't think there was any kind of gas stations or any kind of amenities to pull off. And then you start getting in some of the stuff where you start to see where it's unique, and you're getting these single track sections, and they use the McHone Trail. I'm not sure if I've been saying that right the whole time, but they went through and talked with the Georgia, I don't know, Department of Agriculture, I don't know what department they would, but they got to use a lot of new trail this year. So this year was the first time they got to add an extra 20 miles of single track in.
Oh, that's a nice chunk.
Yeah. So this is trail systems that don't get used because it's so remote that most people aren't going to hike it. The Appalachian Trail runs through that area, so if people are hiking out there, most of the time they're on the Appalachian Trail, and the McHone Trail doesn't get used as much. So to get to see this historic trail was really like, it was like being connected to the past, to get to go through this old route that went across the state. And then you come through like just the little towns, and it's a small town of 1,000 people becomes a big city to you when you've been nowhere for hours and hours, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, they got 2 gas stations. This place is massive,
Yeah.
It's super sweet, and getting to ride some of the single track was just amazing to like throw that much single track just back to back, and just they've really groomed in. Like I think like Georgia in the last couple of years has stepped up their single track as far as grooming things out and making it really flowy. But then they also made us go through some stuff that I was at like my wit's end. I was tired, and I'm looking at the trail. I'm like, there's no way that's the route. Like they wouldn't make us do that. That's silly. And then that's it. There was a section that I set down my bike and just like I was about to lose it because I was thinking there's no way like that's the route. There was like this big like dirt mound, and there's like a road on either side of it, and then the route was up and over this dirt mound, and then through these like weeds and like over this ridge line that had no trail. It was just all overgrown, and you could just barely see where 1 bike or 2 bikes had gone through at the time. And I was just like, these guys, like at the moment I was a little ticked off. I was like, why would they do this to us? Like I was starting to take it personal. But it was cool to like see stuff that remote, and just it's nice to be reminded that in the society we live here in the United States, that you can still get off the grid if you go and take some of these back roads.
Absolutely.
So it's cool to know that there are the remote places left. You just gotta put some miles in to get there.
Yeah. Well, I have not been out in that direction, but I cannot wait to get on the trail. And I don't know if I'll race it. I'll definitely consider a tour.
Mulberry Gap is awesome.
For great stuff.
Those guys, they took care of the racers so well. You could roll into Mulberry Gap, and they would give you a robe. I didn't do any of this stuff because I was racing. I just laid on the floor and told them what I wanted to eat, and they cooked me up a big sandwich and fries and made me a burrito and wrapped it up to go. And I took like an hour nap there. But if you wanted to, and you were just out to enjoy the ride and tour it, you could come into Mulberry, and they just wait on you. They'll even take your chamois, like they'll give you a robe, you can change into a robe, and then they'll go and wash your chamois and all your riding gear, your socks and stuff like that. But I didn't take off any of that stuff. I laid in the floor for an hour, and then I got up and rode some more.
Excellent. So talk a little about your setup and what kind of bike were you riding and the gear you brought, and how you consider the gear for that trail.
Yeah. So I was riding the Salsa Elmar tie frame with a pike fork up front and doing a 1x11 drivetrain.
How much travel do you have in that fork?
It's a 120.
Okay.
So I like the 120 on there because I can still play on it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting beat up too much. My wrist, doing that many miles that fast, it's still gonna take its toll on your body. But I like to get out there and play. I don't want to just get through it as fast as possible and not have fun.
Yeah.
So with having a 120 up front, it allowed me I can huck off of this and not have to worry about breaking my bike. And there were some times where I was like, all right, I'm getting a little too playful, burping the back tire and stuff like that. Then I had the Dynamo hub up front, which is just nice to have that security that you can ride throughout the night and not have to worry about, okay, my battery's gonna die. I still took an extra light that I have mounted on my helmet for single track. It just allows me to ride faster and see more.
Yeah, you get that nice turn, you can look around.
Yeah, it's nice to see what's going on up ahead instead of just 20 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
So it was nice. I had a couple of year bags on this with the Rockgeist stuff.
That's right. Yeah, so the Foxwell was down there. That's one of the first production models, and the analyst sleeping pad. Which
the pad. Yeah.
Did you use that thing?
No, I made myself use it more than I thought I was going to. I'd started off in the race I get in race mode where I don't want to take breaks, and I was just pushing myself to a point I was just burning out, and I have to get off my bike and walk up the sides of the mountains because I was just done. And then I finally was every 4 hours, no matter what, I'm gonna take a 30-minute break, and I would just throw the pad down and just lay there.
Yeah.
And set a timer, and I didn't fall asleep any of those times, but it was just nice to have a little ground coverage, and it was perfect. My longest sleep session was 2.5 hours, and it was perfect. I didn't get cold. It gave me a nice little padding. I laid on a concrete slab. The only downside is there were some good old country boys out there in their pickup trucks, and they were lined up and racing each other. It was like 3, 4 in the morning, and I hear, hey, there's a bike over there. I was like, oh no, don't. And apparently the guys the racers that slept there after me, those trucks, maybe the same ones, I don't know, but some more country guys came back and started doing donuts and slinging gravel on the racers, so I got out of there just in time. But
okay. That's good to hear.
But yeah, the gas tank bag up there,
yeah,
I had a lot of room in there. I really enjoyed the amount of stuff that I could pack in there. Even though I got towards the end of the race and I just didn't want to eat anything, just nothing seemed appetizing anymore, but it was nice to have the extra room. And the rear bag, it was great, no drag, nothing flopping around. And the thing I liked about it the most is just the efficiency on it. I didn't have to get frustrated with my gear, I didn't feel like I was having to wrestle anything. It was just okay, I just have to have one clip undone. My frame, it's not going to fall off the rails or anything like that. So it was super efficient. And in races like that, when you're so exhausted, mentally and physically done, to have 2 extra clips or an extra 30 seconds of mental energy, you just don't have it sometimes. Yeah. So it was just nice to just pop it open, grab what I needed. I just kept my bivvy in the back and then a rain jacket just in case. And that was more than enough to keep me warm and safe.
I hear that on the roll top frame bags, and I'm starting to do a few of them now. And when people ask, well, what's the disadvantage of a roll top? Well, that's exactly it. It's in and out. It's not as fast. And some people will think, well, how much longer could it actually take? And it's not much more time, but it's that mental energy. Sometimes it's weird. You don't have it sometimes.
It's like cooking. On these races, I don't cook because Then you got to think of like, okay, I have to take out my cooking canister, and like you go with the whole process, and then I got to break it down and clean it, and then put it back in. And it's something that sounds silly because it realistically only takes like 15 minutes to cook a meal like that. But when you're just so spent, all you want to do is just chew, swallow, and like and get going, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate you giving a good thorough test of the gear, and
it was great, dude. I feel like this was the most efficient I've rode this year.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
To not have to have the frustrations I've had, and just knowing I could have so little and still be good to go out there. It was nice.
You're moving fast, so it's definitely makes sense. But
sure.
Well, so how can people reach out to you if they want to get in contact with you? You get email or Instagram?
You can find me at stephenmchone.com, or you can find me on Instagram at stephenmchone on Instagram.
Excellent.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I hope to be doing more of these interviews in the future with other athletes and other events going on with bikepacking related stuff. You're local to Asheville, North Carolina,
Yeah,
so hopefully,
born and raised.
yeah, we'll get some good trips going on in the future.
Yeah, we got the 300 coming up in about a month or so.
That's true. That's right. And that's with Liberty Bicycles, right? They're the host for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice tour of Pisgah area and north of Pisgah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be a good route to do.
Nice loop of Asheville. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming in, and I appreciate you coming in for the interview and telling us your story about it.
Thanks for the gear.
No
I
worries,
hope you can wash the smell out of it.
Oh, yeah. It's inherent to it. Yeah, it's just gonna stay there. But all right, well, thanks for watching, guys.